Real estate is one of the simplest ways to build long-term wealth, and one of the easiest ways to get wrecked if you don't know what you're doing. So this show, it exists for one main reason: clarity. Me and Keith, we're talking deals, markets, financing, flips, all of it, but always through the lens of what's working, what isn't working, and why. I'm your host, Dayton Lindsey, and I promise you that this podcast is going to help you save time, money, and you from painful lessons. So, let's get into this. One, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, no. Freaking blizzards are really messing with Elon's and Wi-Fi for where I'm at. So,
Everyone who's
But-
listening, say a
Don't.
prayer for Dayton as he freezes his butt off in Canada,
yep,
middle of a blizzard, hopping on our podcast.
yep. I don't know the exact measurements in Fahrenheit, but it's probably like minus. Holy
less.
crap! The
That's
wind chill is
disgusting.
that bad. Holy crap! Like it's like for weather right now, and I'm gonna talk to you in Celsius. It's minus 20, but with the wind chill at the moment, it feels like minus 32. So that is a
Alexa,
10-degree difference.
minus 32 Celsius, convert it to Fahrenheit.
It's like minus 25.
Minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
No.
It frickin' sucks. Anyways. Luckily, I'm not out there. I'm in here asking you questions. So, to start things off, I want to go from what I said in the ending of the last podcast episode, and start it off here. So, in the last episode, you were talking about vacancy and upgrading the key, not the KPIs, but the key necessities that really raise the living experience for the tenant there. So my question was, how do you handle rent increases without vacancy? So it
easy.
kind of veers off a little bit, but
that's
continue.
actually something that I maybe should have included in the last episode, where we were talking about what are the necessary things that you should have in your agreement with the
property
management company. This isn't really in your agreement with the property management company, but it is in the agreement between you and the person that's leasing your house. And that is, for me, it's an automatic 5% every year. So that house that I told you is like 1640 or 1650 now. It was 1615 last year. And so if we do the math, 1615 times 1.05 equals, it's 1695. That's great. So it went up $80 in rent over 1 year. Now, some markets, they cannot sustain 5%. They're at 4% or at 3%. 3% is kind of the lowest that it'll go. But here's the thing that I see all the time from investors that book calls with me is they put somebody in a house 8 years ago. They're such a good tenant. Well, yeah, because they're paying 30% under what you should be charging them, and they're very grateful that you haven't kicked them out yet. We need to be responsible, and it is not a bad thing to raise rents. Like, fundamentally, people have an issue with a money attachment of, I can't raise the rents because this person is good. Hold the front door. Eggs have gone up, gas has gone up, bread has gone up, cars, I don't care. Fill in the blank. Everything's gone up. Why? Because the rate of inflation is positive. When you're in an inflationary environment, everything goes up and everybody knows it's going up and everybody expects it to go up. Hey, if you feel like 5% is not fair, then do 4%. If you feel like 4% is high, then do 3%. Don't do 3% because you're going to be an idiot. You're not going to keep up with the rate of inflation. Next thing you know, 5 years has gone by, and these people are going to be in a $2,000 per month house, and they should be in a the rent should be $2,400 or something like this. That $400 per month times 12, $5,000 at the end of the year nearly. That's a big difference between how successful you are as a landlord or not. And it also is going to depend on how well are you upkeeping your houses, right? As what we just talked about, you're setting aside 10% for repairs and 5% for capital expenses. 15% that you're laying by, if you will, you're saying, I'm not going to touch this. I'm going to store this up and I'm going to put it into the property to make it nicer between every lease up. And if you don't lease up, like meaning if that person stays in your house, then after 1 year, you should voluntarily do the next needed thing on the house. Don't wait for the thing to break for them to come to you. If you already know, like, dude, this thing is not working as it should, fix it.
Okay.
5%
So
is what
I
I do,
want
though.
to touch
5%
on
rental
the
increases.
yeah 5%. I want to touch on the relationship between rent prices and inflation because you do 5% every year, but inflation rates may not coalesce. Maybe on a parallel trajectory when it comes to raising rates. So how do you
Yeah.
deal with that?
I so for example, in my opinion, and if you were to quote, different sources, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, the inflationary environment. Look at the federal rates. They are not more than 2%." Really? So you're telling me that my eggs aren't more than 2% of what they were last year? Like, this is ridiculous. In some places, in some
Yeah.
areas, like the inflationary environment is easily in the teens. We're at 15%, 18%, something like this. But a lot of this is like the cycles, the rates are way shorter. And so when you look at it over a long period of time, like a year rather than a month, this very, it evens it out quite a bit. It's way more accurate. Now, that being said, you may not keep pace with inflation. Inflation may actually be 6% or 7%. I don't think that you should raise it that much. 5% is my cap. That's my ceiling. And here's what I will tell you is it might be 7% 1 year, but the next year it's going to be down at 3%. Sweet. 5% is 10%. 7% plus 3% is 10%. Doesn't matter how you get to it. You got to 10% both ways. I don't want to be herky-jerky with my tenants, though. Like, if imagine somebody's living in your house for 10, 15 years, and you're going herky-jerky with how much it goes up and down. They don't like that. Nobody likes instability.
Yeah, no one does.
And so if you just say in the contract, it's going to be 5%, or it's going to be 4%, or it's going to be 3%. Or if you want it to be variable, hey, it's going to be a minimum of 3% and a maximum of 5%. Sweet. They at least know what to expect. People like that. People like, everybody, you and I, like to have a heads up on what we can expect. They'll already be budgeting as hey, we're 2 months away from the lease up. Honey, can we pay our rent, fine if it goes up $80? They're going to have that conversation. If they can't, then they're going to move. If they can, then they're going to stay. Hey, guess what? Now you made an extra $80 per year and you're keeping up with the rate of inflation. You can fix the house as things break. Good business.
Where do most single family homes leak profit and how do you plug it?
We're still on the theme of rentals, right?
Yes, we are.
I'm going to give you not the answer that you're probably expecting. If somebody is listening to this podcast and they guess what I'm about to say, you should go out and buy a lottery ticket. But I know that I'm absolutely correct in this. Most single family houses leak profit because they're self-managed. and they're not paying for a property management company. Now, hear me out, because
So
that sounds asinine, potentially.
it sounds like you're kind of blaming the investor that it's the single family home is kind of failing is because of them by the sounds
I
of what
absolutely
you are
am.
saying. Okay.
I absolutely am.
Let
Here's
let's
the thing.
unpack this one.
I don't have a lot of rentals, right? I've only been acquiring rentals for the last 2 years. So I'm very new to the game when it comes to acquiring rentals. So the people that I'm like my business partners, the guys who are mentoring me, they have hundreds of rentals each. Like they know what they're talking about. I have 3 friends that own thousands of doors. They're not just in single family. Many of them are duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes. Some of them even own apartment buildings, but they own thousands of doors. Here's what I've heard over and over and over, because I pay to be in masterminds for passive income, for acquiring doors, for rentals, blah blah blah. And I have just gotten this drilled into my head. I've heard it so many times that it has to be true. Like this many people can't be saying the same thing over and over and over and over and it not be true. They
Not
say
being
the
true.
moment they're like, I'm self-managing these properties. I've got 10 properties. I've got 30 properties. I've got 55 properties. I'm self-managing them all. The moment they hired a property management company, they actually net more money. Why? There's 2 things. Number 1, you're collecting more rents, because when they know that you're the landlord, they start to fall behind on their payments. They start to pay you in 2 or 3 or 4 chunks. They fall a whole month behind and you just forgive it because it's easier than throwing somebody new in there. The emotional side of the business gets to you and you feel like less of a human when you don't give somebody a break when they're going through a rough spot, because that's what you would want. But that is not how good business is done. And that property management company has a fiduciary interest and a duty to take care of you as the landlord, because you're the one who's paying them. And if they don't collect that rent, then you don't have the money to pay them. Therefore, they don't get paid. They're going to do a very good job collecting all the rents. Not only will they be collected, but they'll be collected on time on the 1st of every month. That is absolute. I have heard this so many times. This is the biggest thing. Is I wasn't collecting the rents. I was at 80%. I was at 90% of rental collections. You're supposed to be. This is crazy. So one of my local guys here who runs one of the RIAs where I am, he had about 60 units, and all around here, all around Brevard County, average rent was like $2,000. Do that math. $120,000 is what he should have been collecting.
Yeah.
He was only collecting 90,000. So that's 30 G's that he's missing out. The moment he hired a property management company, it went to like 112 to 115. Like, sure, he has some people who don't pay and they get evicted. But even if you're at 110, let's go with easy numbers. Well, maybe that's not easy. 110 over 120 is 90, almost 92%. And he was at 90 over, that's like 75% if I'm doing my mental math right. $30,000 is a lot of freaking money. And how much does the property management cost him? $12,000, right? 10% of whatever they collect. $12,000. So now he's up. He was down 30,000. Now he's recouping that 30,000 and then only giving up, only paying 12,000. So he's up $18,000 the moment per month, mind you, per month. He's up $18,000 just by switching over to a local property manager. So that I have heard this so many times. I would say that's the first biggest leak. The second biggest leak for most single family houses, after you hire a property management company.
Quick aside, if you're getting value out of this, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below with what you want Keith and me to cover next. It helps the channel out a lot, and it tells us what you want to learn about. Anyways, back to the video.
Man, that's the biggest one, dude. I feel I like to ask myself, am I applying Pareto's principle? Am I applying the 20% that's going to get me 80% of the squeeze? Or if we can go Pareto squared, right? What's the 20% that's going to make 80% of the difference? And then of this 20%, what's the 20% that makes 80% of the difference? Well, 20% of 20%, if I'm doing my math right, is 5%. So like that's Gary Keller's one thing. What's the one thing that I can do today that will make all other things unnecessary or obsolete? You looked at me weird like I'm not doing my math right. 20 times 0.2 equals, dadgummit, it's 4%. What's the 4%?
Yeah, it was. I knew it sounded a little bit off, but it was a little bit off. But I'll give you that way. That's like missing Mars, or that's like missing a travel time by 0.7 seconds. Like you weren't there fast enough. But anyways,
yeah, right.
What you're going to say?
So that's going to be the biggest thing that bleeds you money, is not hiring a property management company. Now, there's a whole bunch of smaller things, and I don't confidently know what the second biggest is going to be, but think about this. If you hire the wrong property management company, I guess you're doing better than if you're self-managing it, but that still can be a bleed. If you are not taking care of the property and you have deferred maintenance because you're not setting aside money every month, that's going to bleed you dry. If you're not getting quotes every year on your insurance and competing, like making them compete against your existing insurance policy, that's going to bleed you. Renegotiating your rate with your property management company as you acquire more assets. For example, my property manager, as soon as you have more than 10 units, he'll give you a break. Instead of charging you 10%, now he'll charge you 9%. And then as soon as you have more than 50 units, now he'll charge you 8%. I believe. It's been a long time since we talked about this, but these are the numbers that I remember. I like that. Like with economies of scale, they give you lower prices. And so if a new client, for example, I actually have a client in St. Louis, Missouri, who has 57 units self-managed right now. If he were to go to a property manager and say, hey, he's basically created his own property management company, which I'm not super in support of, but he does a pretty decent job at it. His wife does, rather. If he were to go to a property manager and say, hey, we have this property management company, we've been self-managing 57 units, I'd like to turn the business over to you. What will you quote me? They're not going to quote him 10%. They're going to quote him like 7% or 8%. And then he's going to be stoked because now he can sleep at night and not have to deal with all the stupid stuff that happens. So economies of scale are going to help. You should be able to go to your property management company after you've acquired 11 assets and ask them for reduction across the board on all of them. Insurance, deferred maintenance, hiring the wrong property manager. Yeah, that's basically it. The 80-20 is you will bleed yourself dry and have a stressful life if you are self-managing your properties and you're not collecting 100% of the rents.
True that. So I want to touch on the utility and insurance you just ended off on there on. And my question to you is, what utility, insurance, and tax levers actually move NOI? Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with NOI, NOI stands for net operations income.
Net operating.
Operating, not operations. Damn it. I messed it up. Anyways.
You were close.
Okay. Yeah, I messed that one up. spell that correctly next time. But yeah, so
So
what
you're asking,
is?
what are the levers? Well, I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
there's not very many, truthfully, because taxes, they're taxes. Like you have to pay your taxes. So there is no
yeah,
lever there. That's not true. There is one lever. Um, if you disagree with the tax assessor's assessment of the value of your property, you can submit a piece of paper that says, I want you to redo this. You have my property valued way more than it should be, and I'm getting charged up the wazoo with taxes. Can you please do a reassessment of my house? That's really the only tax lever that you have. And most of the time, it doesn't work. So then you also talked about insurance and you talked about
okay,
utilities. Well, most of the time,
yeah,
your utilities are the tenant's responsibility. And so you as the landlord, you don't have to worry about the utilities because you're not paying for them. So I guess that's the lever. Just throw the lever to the tenant and have them catch it. Good. Utilities are covered by the tenant. You're done. And then insurance, kind of going back to our last conversation, is insurance every single year you should be getting new quotes. It takes you a couple hours, right? It takes you 4, 5, 6 hours. If you have the means to do so, this could be somebody on your team, like a virtual assistant, that you
yeah,
hire to just do this. Get me insurance quotes. Here's all the information on the house so that you can get, and including the policy that I currently have so that you can really compare apples to apples. And then have them fill out quotes for all the insurance companies that are near you. I have some I have some insurance bills on my desk right now, and I probably went through 4. I think I made 4 inquiries before I landed on this insurance provider. That's good. That's good enough.
okay.
Maybe I should have done 5. But after I did 4, I was like, wow, there's a clear winner here. Like this dude's probably 20% cheaper. 20% cheaper. Let's see if he's raised me. Dude, it's $73.65 for this house per month. $73 for a landlord policy. Ooh. Sign me the heck up. This is amazing.
That's pretty
Limit of
freaking good.
liability, $150,000. Private structures, related private structures, $14,000. Additional living expense and loss of rent, $15,000. Liability, $1 million. Medical payments to others, $5,000. Each incident, $25,000. Like this is a good insurance policy. And I only pay $73 per month for it. Super worth it.
That is freaking sweet.
Rest assured, as soon as I lease this up again, I'll be asking Mel, our transaction coordinator, hey, can you get me 3 to 5 more insurance quotes? Absolutely. It'll save you a little bit.
Nice. Yeah. And that's very important in pretty much anything you like to, anything you are looking to go on an endeavor with is to shop around. Cars, insurance, houses. It's very important to shop around. Super important.
Yep.
But that brings us to the end of my questions for this episode, man.
Great questions.
It's been a pleasure talking with you on this one. They've been good.
Dayton.
But yeah, we'll see you all on the next one. Real estate isn't magic. It's a skill. And the people who win long term are the ones that keep stacking the reps. That means learning, analyzing, staying patient, and making good decisions. If you want to keep building that skill with us, make sure to subscribe and send this to someone who needs to hear it, because I know you know someone that needs to. Anyways, that's all for today. Take care.